You know, there's a tidbit that I think kind of got overshadowed by the whole secret police nearly killing an elderly family pet thing, and that's the part where Bruz claimed he wanted to sue Google. Clearly a much more innocent bystander in all this than Christo's mum, clearly. They're claiming that Google is a publisher and therefore is responsible for my content. At first I thought, this fat's obsessed with furniture. What, because Freedom Furniture doesn't stock office beanbags, you need to sue Google, do you? Their couches aren't slendy enough for the hefty gentlemen's. You remember the news media bargaining code fiasco? If you don't, Michael West has done an excellent article on it, as has Economics Explained. I did the best one in my humble opinion. You know why? Because I was in it. Isn't that incredible how the human brain works?
This one that has me really speaks to me.
To give you a very crude overview of the media bargaining code, it was essentially Murdoch and Costello whining that for some reason, less and less of the public want to pay them for their boring propaganda, colourlessly written by some pee-pee-loving douche with this facial expression. The pee-pees made my pee-pee hard. Clearly, their revenue plummeting from a medium that is 1,000 years old competing in the era of TikTok, obviously Google's fault, and so they want Google to pay for daring to allow them to use Google search engine. Honestly, they may as well have turned to Sydney Water and said, "You have to pay me for flicking up one of your bubblers. That was my labour that allowed me to have some of your free water." Naturally, the party of free market principles had to step in with classic central command economics by forcing Google to pay for papers that are clearly failing due to free market principles as what's more of a proud liberal tradition than wealth redistribution. And at the time, we thought, well, this is just your run-of-the-mill example of Murdoch's power. The man could make one tweet and get f***ing Fiji nuked if he liked. Today is a slow news day. Cheerio, chaps! Let's give him something to talk about, what? I thought because the amount of money Google and Facebook have to pay is looking like some token amount of $100 to $200 million, that this was all just the Liberals saving Murdoch's face. But who'd have guessed Peter Dutton is actually smarter than I am? In fact, now that I think about it, I think there might be only one person on earth who's smarter than him, Abby Chatfield, but that's another story. I think the puppets of Murdoch have taken on a life of their own. Puppets would have been a much more apt description of the Liberals if Chris Pine was still an MP, because he's just slappy with curly hair. I'm a fixer. My first inkling that the Liberals might actually be smarter than me is that some of them understand the law-making process. I, on the other hand, dropped out of legal studies in year 10 because I thought it was, quote, for shit c***s. I've just learnt the word precedent in the last few weeks for inexplicable reasons, and it's changed my entire worldview. You ready for these red pills? Number one, Joey from Friends has a much more diverse character range than Christian Bale. Number two, the media bargaining code was never about propping up dying newspapers. It was about silencing the new ones. The primary objective was to start associating in both the court and the court of public opinion that Google and Facebook aren't platforms, they're publishers. You know, like the Sydney Morning Herald's a publisher. Now, intuitively, that's f***ing nuts. Google is the modern-day equivalent of a library, while the Sydney Morning Herald is just a modern-day lunatic handing out pamphlets of their personal, cultural and political beliefs, and for some reason there's a bunch of f***ing Nick Scali furniture ads in between it. Why do they want social media to be a publisher and not a platform? Because publishers have editors. Why do they want them to have editors? Because editors will start treating you, a member of the public, like a journalist, i.e. stop you from saying things. Who are they trying to make the editor? Themselves. Ever heard of the online safety bill? Probably not, as there was barely any coverage of it, and apart from one dumb shit ABC article where they said, "Yay! No one can troll me on Twitter anymore, because it's not that I'm dumb, it's that everyone else is a troll." Labour and the Greens slammed it. Lewis Spears slammed it. 400 people slammed it, even though you're only given 3 days to make a submission, which, geez, short time frame to hear objections to a bill censoring the net and next to zero mainstream media coverage. No, that's not deep statey at all. In the very little coverage it did get, it was proudly reported that they're going to start fining platforms like Facebook for keeping up, quote, bullying content, $500,000 for each offence. Who's the editor that decides what is and isn't an offence? The E-Safety Commissioner. One woman, essentially an emperor of the net. And just when she's about to receive her crown, just coincidentally at almost the exact moment, you start seeing instances of pages like the Common Sense Brigade that are being shut down for, and this is true, terrorism. The terrorist act in question was someone daring to make a meme of Mussolini's body with John Barilaro's head. Yep, that's up there with the Christchurch shootings. This is especially scary to me personally, as
This person looks like this person.
is 90% of my jokes. So in one foul swoop, they've silenced freedom of expression and killed Australian comedy. You don't want them killing Australian comedy, do you? Don't worry, mate, I'm still gonna say that half-shuck mango line. Oh, thank fuck. The Murdoch press, on the other hand, making meme after meme, day after day, of Daniel Andrews looking like Kim Jong-un, that's not terrorism. It's only terrorism if you do it to a member of the coalition. Do you see what's happening here? By taking down the Common Sense Brigade, they've essentially declared that supporting the party of opposition is an act of terrorism. Asking a politician in power a question is now an act of terrorism. Making fun of the party in power is an act of terrorism. Now I want you to go back and look at Frydenberg's comments, where he stated over and over that the media bargaining code was a precursor and a world first, and the world is watching what happens here in Australia. Not even Coyne admitting that, holy f***, Tucker Carlson was wrong on this one. Google aren't Machiavellian schemers like we are. While we're thinking of plots for world domination, they seem to be a bunch of nerds thinking about, oh, they landed another rover on Mars, cool. I could guarantee you that Google wasn't thinking that now that it's being defined as a publisher, they're responsible for not letting through information that is damaging to the coalition, just like the press in this country are. If John Barilaro wins his case against Google, think about this. Google would be legally responsible for everyone's feelings too. Well, everyone's feelings with tens of millions of dollars and public profiles and egos the size of their bank accounts, i.e. these political gangsters, meaning at some point, Google and Facebook will have to say, F it, we're sick of getting sued for every little personal gripe the coalition has. We're changing our terms and conditions so that they have no personal gripes to begin with. As Frydenberg correctly stated, the world is watching. You know what the world is? Sister parties of the Tories. Despots all across the globe looking at Australia as a testing lab, seeing what they can and can't get away with in their collective pursuit to force Google to rein in a version of itself that is closer to China's in the quote-unquote free world, or as Frydenberg himself puts it, to ensure that the rules of the digital world mirror the rules of the physical world.
Please share and comment below. Comment.